What's going on, YouTube? It's your man Mohi Cuts back in the building. So today I'll be doing a mid fade, except the only difference is between this one and my other two haircuts that I have on my channel are this transition will be a lot more stretched out. So the other haircuts that I've posted, the transition is a lot tighter. So the fade is a lot tighter, but this fade will be a lot more stretched out. So yeah, starting off, I got my number 3 guard and I'm cleaning up the head, just kind of cleaning up. And I always clean up with a 3 guard, whether it's like a high fade or a low fade, just because it makes it easier and I don't have to. So if it's on a high fade, I tend not to push it up as high, you know. So it's just like a mental thing for me. A number 3 is kind of like the perfect number for me. And now I'm coming with my 0, making my first guideline. And like I said before, these Babyliss trimmers are not too 0 gapped, so they're not eating at that, you know, that line. I don't know if y'all have ever done it with some super 0 gap trimmers. They will bite, you know, and they'll create a line that is really tough to take out. But yeah, now my style crafts, you know, I got my sabers and I come and clean that up, you know, just the rest of that hair. And now I'm coming in with my half guard. So in my last 2 videos, I was coming up with my number 1 guard, and that would have been my second guideline. But now, since this fade, I want to keep it a lot shorter along the sides, and I want to keep it a lot more stretched out. I'm starting with my half guard, where with my 0, no guard open, and now I'm coming in with my 1 and creating that, you would say, I guess it's the 3rd guideline, and still about maybe not all the way to ½ an inch, just under ½ an inch with both the guidelines. And yeah, it's just a different type of haircut. This haircut is not, you know, he likes it a lot shorter on the sides, but he still wants to keep that kind of lower, you know, to mid effect. So now I'm coming up with my number 2 closed, and I'll work my way back down. So I know I see a lot of barbers, they'll make a guideline and then fade out the guideline, make another guideline, fade out another guideline. But I like to see my guidelines first, and then I'll come back and fade it all in. That way when I'm doing a fade all over the head, which I'm not showing it in the video just because I'm trying to show you guys one area of the head at a time. But yeah, I like to keep that consistent. That way I can see all the way around the head. But yeah, now I got my number 1 guard, and I'm cleaning up where my number 1 guard was open, where I set that number 1 open. And you'll see I'll grab my half guard and kind of clean that up also. But more than anything, my half guard will be the one that really takes out that line from my half to my 1. And that way it makes it, you know, it starts transitioning a lot better, and I can kind of see the fade coming into play. But yeah, now I have my half guard, and I'm just playing with the corners, man. Just playing with the corners, playing with my blade, playing with my lever a lot, you know, just because I don't, you know, the higher up I go, I'll open up my lever a lot more. You know, obviously that, you know, you don't want to push it up too high with the lever closed and then, you know, start eating at the fade, you know what I mean? And now I'll grab my no guard, and I have a process with my 0s when I'm fading out the 0 to the half, and I'll always start on the 3rd notch, then I'll go down to the 2nd notch, then I'll go down to the 1st notch on the clipper, on the lever. And that way it's just the easiest for me. It's you know, just the mental clarity for me, you know. And then if I, you know, at the end of a haircut, that's when I'll come in and I'll do do most of the detail work. But so now I came in back on top of the, you know, on top of where my 2 closed was, and I did the 2 open. Now I'm coming in with my 3 closed, and then my 4 closed, just to finish the fade off on the parietal ridge. And I'll come in later on in the video and I'll do clipper over comb, which, man, if you guys have not done clipper over comb or haven't learned to do clipper over comb, I highly recommend it, man. It just makes the fades go a lot faster. You can fit a lot more clients in, you know. So, but anyways, now I have my shaver and just fading out that last line. Like I know, guys. I know this isn't recommended, you know, doing the shaver after you've already done all your fading. But man, it's just a lot easier for me. And what tends to work for me when using the shaver is I'll tap it. I'll just tap it on where the zero meets where my trimmer meets my half. That's where I'll just tap it. I'll tap it along those lines. And see, now I haven't showed y'all where I fade on the back of the head, just because, like I said in my previous videos, man, the lighting and the just the camera angles is pretty tough to work, you know, to kind of mess with, especially in my shop. I'll show you guys my shop in a later video, but man, my shop tends to absorb a lot of light. So I know, you know, if you see a lot of barber videos, a lot of guys doing haircut tutorials, they have, like, their background is a lot of white. And my shop is a lot darker. You know, my shop doesn't have any white walls. It's a brick, you know, it's an old school brick shop, and it just absorbs light like crazy. So that's, you know, that's why it's kind of been a little tough for me, or a little tougher for me to get these angles and the lighting and so on and so forth. But yeah, so now I'm doing a fast, you know, I speeded up the video on this end just because it's the same steps. The only difference is, guys, that I want you to take is I do space it out on the back of the head a lot more, because there's more space on the back of the head. I want the transition to be as even as possible around his whole head. So that's a big thing when it comes to just behind the head. You know, the sides of the head, obviously, from where the ear is to his parietal ridge, there's a lot less space than his neck area or his nape area to the parietal ridge or his cowlick area, you know. So it just makes a lot more sense to space it out a little bit more. That way you can see the transition of the haircut a lot better. So now you'll see I just finished the fade, I did all the steps, and now I'm coming in with my 3 and then my 4, and I'll end it there, just because, or actually no, I did come up with my 5 on this back part, but just to make it a lot easier when I'm doing my clipper over comb. So now, same thing on his right side. I'm coming in, starting with my 0, you know, same steps, cleaning up his neck. And I usually try to do, when I start my fading, I usually try to clean up the sideburns, and just to make it a little bit easier for me as I'm going along. That way I don't forget towards the end of a haircut, you know. So now 2 closed, exactly the same. And you'll see when I start doing my clipper over comb, always pull away from the hair. Always pull away from the hair. I cannot reiterate this enough, guys. Clipper over comb is an essential part of your, you know, just the overall timing of the process. You know, that your time is everything when you're a barber. So what could be an hour haircut, you know, you turn it into 45 minutes. You can still do a really decent haircut in 45 minutes. And I think on this haircut, it probably took me I want to say I was pushing 35 minutes on this haircut. And it always helps, because, you know, if you have your regulars, you already know the shape of their heads. You know, you kind of already know what they want, what they look for in their haircuts. So it does make it a little bit easier. So now I'm coming up with my 2, now my 3, and now my 4. And I would say, guys, I don't recommend you use the shaver like I do towards the end of the fade, just because that last little zero point on the when you make your first zero guideline is really tough to take out. So try to do it before, and then once you kind of master that, then maybe try it after the whole fade is done. But so now I'm doing my clipper over comb. I'm coming up with so as I gradually cut, I'm pulling the comb away from me, right? That way I'm still creating a sort of transition towards the top of his head, and I only create these type of transitions on the parietal ridge, so where the area of his hair changes directions. So you can see I'm pulling it away from me. And since he has a comb over, I tend to keep it a little bit longer on his left side, the side I'm cutting now, rather than his right side, because on the right side is where it all meets. All the hair that's combing over, it all meets on that side. So that's where I tend to keep it a lot shorter where the hair meets. So see, right here, I'm barely taking anything. I just want to create that transition, that gradual transition, but keeping it long, trying to keep it as long as I can. So you can see all that fade right there. If you're looking at his left side of his head, it's just a smooth transition. Now I'm doing his edge. Always start in the middle, guys. Please always start in the middle, because if you start on the sides, you will have a tendency to make the edge slanted, because you can only see one side of his head. You know what I mean? So always start in the middle, and clean up the forehead hairs also, guys. I have seen a few people, they'll just hit the edge line, but they won't bring their trimmer down to clean their the little baby hairs on the forehead. Just make sure you clean those off too. Just all clean. And I do try to keep my edges as natural as possible. I don't try to create any super dark edge lines, just because I wasn't taught that way, and I really don't like the super emphasis on creating your edge. Just keep it natural, man. Just keep it natural. In my opinion, it looks a lot better. It doesn't grow back all like it just doesn't look good when it grows back, guys. Just try to keep it I would recommend you guys to try to keep it as natural as possible. Don't dig in. You don't have to create a crazy C cup. Just keep the edge line as natural as possible. And I'm barely tugging at the hair. With my comb, opening up that spot. But yeah, here's the final result, guys. I ended up using a little bit of enhancement on his vertical bars for the edge. But I know in my last two videos, I didn't post a super clear end result. And I did add a little bit of hairspray on him. So, just to kind of sit the hair how I wanted it to. And so I can see the final result, just to make sure all the hair sits the way I wanted it to. But yeah, guys, that's the haircut. I appreciate you guys watching, and please comment any questions. If there's anything I need to clear up in future videos, please let me know. Like, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.